What's going on, y'all? This is the Battle Blaster coming back at you. I decided to come in and talk tonight about the issue with Les Moonves and his wife, Julie Chen. Now, there's no problem between them two, but the hypocrisy is at an all-time high. And it's not only between on the Julie Chen area, it's just on the white media completely. And what I mean about the white media, because the media is controlled by whites regardless, and I watched as this Les Moonves and other white gentlemen in power slowly lose their grip in today's world, which they helped to let this come into play. I watch as they get these golden parachutes. You know what I mean? They get these safety nets that they fall from. See, they fall and they get away scot clean. They don't go to jail. They don't have to suffer. They don't have to lose their money. No one is out there telling them we need to destroy their careers and destroy their lives so they'll never be able to rise back up from the ashes ever again. The same way they doing Bill Cosby, the same way they try to do Michael Jackson. You know, the same way I seen them do a couple of other black celebrities. And I just want to go through some things that I've written down and how they all connect to one another. They said that they didn't want to see Les Moonves go through any hardships, but they said by him leaving in CBS in disgrace, they, in every sense of, how can I say, in every little angle that they could do, they were trying their best not to speak upon or say certain words that would get the public to see him as the bad guy. Unlike what they did to Bill Cosby, and they tried to do to Russell Simmons, they tried to do to Morgan Freeman and those guys. You know what I mean? When there's black people, I watch as they use words, they use these coded dog whistle language, and they call them, you know, they're how do they say it? They're not terrorists. They're predators and they're sexual predators, and look how they do things. Like this guy said, Torian Rain said something, and it's so true. He said, D.W. Griffith, The Birth of the Nation. And if you actually watch that thing, I remember watching that when I was a kid, and it's like probably like I think it's like a half an hour film or something like that, 15-minute film, something like that. I forgot how long it is, but I think it's like 15 minutes. And they narrate a story about blacks being inhuman. They was putting this propaganda out, stating that, like, basically saying black men were savages. We were animals. Once we got out of slavery and into Reconstruction, we would be senators and everything. We would bring terror to white folks, and we would make laws that would benefit us and degrade them, and when it comes to us being free, white women weren't safe to walk the street. They would be raped at every turn. possible, or harassed. These people put this propaganda piece out so thick. This shit was worse than Skippy. Skippy with chunky Skippy. This shit was thicker than that. Okay? And if you look at it, you seriously look at it, they were doing this, but they were telling the truth about themselves. Now, just go with me for a second. These people are in these legislation houses, and they're in these in the state houses. They make these rules. These people make more laws against us in every possible way, from the 13th Amendment to redlining, and you name it. They have created laws to keep us from going forward, from gaining power, from gaining businesses, from gaining our own neighborhoods, to even being able to trade goods from across the globe. These people have truly hindered our ability and stunt our growth. They have kept us self-serving. We are basically servants to whites in this country. We always had to beg for jobs. At one time, when we had Black Wall Street and we had places like that, like over in Texas, and you had places in North Carolina, places in Florida, they were small spots around, and even in California they had places like that, like Black Wall Streets. We had little Black Africas and little Black Wall Streets all over. But white people would get so afraid. They would get so annoyed to the fact that we were making more money than they were. We were living better than they were. We were standing up and having our own towns, our own businesses, our own banks. And we had mansions, and we had big houses, and no one basically in that town was living lower than anyone else. We had bus lines, taxis, airports, we were doing for ourselves. And white people was getting so upset because during that time, the Great Depression was just ready to kick off. The Great Depression didn't kick off until 1929. The Great Depression kicked off. 1919 to 1921, they called it the Red Summer. Some places they called it the Red Hot Summer. And that was because, or the Summer of Blood, because there was a lot of black people who were being slaughtered and killed during that time. And it was all because white people's jealousy. White people weren't doing as good. White people were lazy. White people didn't want to do better for themselves. A lot of them were working for other whites. And like I said, you got to remember, a lot of things started happening to whites when blacks were by themselves. You know what I mean? Remember, we couldn't go into their towns unless we had permission to go there to do something. That's in certain places too. Or we were told, or we were working for someone and we were in that town to help. But a lot of those towns back then were sundown towns. But let's get to the point. In that time, we were doing for ourselves. And we were becoming a force to be reckoned with. The world was ready to start trading with black Americans. And I'm not going to call myself African American because I'm not an African. I am a black American. That's all I am. And I don't even really consider myself an American. I consider myself a black person living in America. Okay? And I hope that you would consider that too. But let's get back to the fact at hand. And they didn't like that. They didn't want that. And I believe, because from what I can understand, that the government was fully behind the destructions of all the black Wall Streets. From 1919 to 1921, this had reigned across the country. Okay? And you might ask me, well, what does this have to do with the Moonves? The Moonves situation? Because what I'm trying to get to you is, when they destroyed our cities and they killed them and raped, and they killed men, women, and children, and a lot of times they beat the kids and beat the women and raped the women, or they would kill the men or whatever. They would go home after they finished looting up and taking what they wanted from those black neighborhoods and burning down those houses and buildings and dropping bombs on businesses and streets and homes. They were dropping sticks of dynamite. But after they was doing all that, those people went home and they slept like babies. Nothing happened to them. Nothing. Not one thing happened to them. No one stood trial. Nothing. Black people could not even get the government to come up and say you were wrongly just. You were wrongly just, and there was no justice behind you. So as Americans in this country, we're going to help you rebuild. They never said that. They never did it. You know what they did to those people? It's God's honest truth. They turned around and they told those people, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and go about your business. Basically, like, fuck you. They told the blacks there and other places like that, go fuck yourself. And if you want this again, you're going to have to fix it on your own, because we ain't helping you not one damn bit. This is what gets me with people like Moonves. He's getting a $100 million golden parachute. Okay? From CBS. Now, whether they're going to take some of that money from him or not, we don't know. But this man is worth over $100 million. Over $400 million. So if he's worth over that much money, and he has probably half or 3/4 of that in liquid funds, you know what I mean? The man is loaded. So him leaving in disgrace, like it's such a bad thing that, but you know what? We're not going to say nothing, because if we say something, we'll look too hypocritical by that standard, which they did to Bill Cosby. See, they don't want to give that Bill Cosby type of rhetoric to him, because if they give it to him, then they have to say, we gotta let Cosby off the hook. We have to apologize for the way we spoke bad about Bill Cosby. See, they can't do that. See, this is white media. White media won't allow that to happen. We can't allow you to backstep, so to speak, on the words that we put out there to hang this man. So we got to be careful in choosing the words we're going to use. And that's how they were. And the funny thing about, and I want to bring this up because I know a lot of people know this by now, Les Moonves was the reason why Janet Jackson's career went into the shitter. He helped fucked up her career. When the Tittygate came out, and if a lot of you don't know what the Tittygate is, as when the Super Bowl when she was performing Justin Timberlake and he ripped the blouse off and her titty was exposed. Okay, I'm like this: show a tit, save a life. You know what I mean? I might be a little, it might be a little funny, but hell, show a tit, save a life. That titty could save a life today. Any titty can save a life. You know, show your tits, save a life. That's how I look at shit. But they wanted her to beg and plead and, oh my God, oh no, you know, you shouldn't know this, that, the other, they wanted her to beg and plead like, oh, I'm so sorry, master, I didn't mean to show my boobie. And then I heard a story, I don't know how true it is, but I heard her wardrobe malfunction was, it was a setup. Whoever was fucking around with her wardrobe meant for that shit to go down. So just to let you know what was going down. You dig? It was meant to happen. So they could destroy that woman's career. Okay? Now, this son of a bitch did that to her. And Justin Timberlake, only thing he came out was with, I didn't know what was going to happen. You know, he said his little white escapades and his career kept going and flourishing better and better. But her career went and stopped dead in her tracks. And Janet's career, I don't think will ever be the same like it was before. Could it? Yeah, I believe it could, but she's not going to get that same boost by the dominant media, the white media. You dig? Black people, this is why I always say to you, we need to put our money together, have our own media, and then you're gonna have people to sit up here and say the same thing. And I believe, and I wholeheartedly agree with them. We need to have our own media. We need to have our own neighborhoods. We should have our schools. Our schools are closing down. Hospitals are closing down in our areas. Drugstores, I just found out, are closing down. Libraries are closing down. They are slowly shutting off the faucet for us. Like I said in one of my last pieces, if it's a big if you shut down the schools, because right now they're consolidating these kids from every side of the city or every side of the town wherever blacks are living in. And you know these kids got this problem with these gangs or these little cliques. Oh, what side of town you from? I'm from this side. And then they ready to beat you up because you ain't from the same side of town you are. Something so stupid, something we can annul, and something that not only parents should talk, but also the teachers and other people and people like me. I try to tell a lot of these kids, it's not where you from, it's where you at. It's never where you're from. So don't let it be where you're from. But a lot of kids don't see it that way, and you know, I understand, but you gotta grow up one day and you have to understand, even though you're from a different portion of town, you're still brown. You dig? And I hate to say it like that, but we're all black people, and we all need to know that we are on the endangered species list. And with them closing down these schools and trying to consolidate kids into these schools. Now, mind you, I remember when they had the No Child Left Behind bullshit they claimed they was having. And I remember as these kids, I remember as a school, because when I was going to school, it was like 25 kids to a class, or sometimes 20 kids to a class. Then they started breaking it down where they had 10 kids to a class. I'm like, how you going to teach, 10 kids with 2 teachers? But now I understand how it works. Before I couldn't see it. But now I understand. And you know what it did? It helped a lot of those kids to learn more. Because now it was like a lot of, they were able to divert their attention on kids who really needed it in that class. And now they shut down schools in in the black areas. It's piling. Now you got from 10 to 20. Now you got 30. Now you got 40 kids in one. You got 30 kids in one class. How's those kids going to learn when there's only one or two teachers in that classroom? No one can learn. Because there's more kids who are going to need help. And now when these kids can't get no help, what they're going to do? They're going to act out. Okay? Now, if you take those kids and you keep consolidating school into school into school into school into school, guess what happens? You got one school, two schools with 50 kids, 60 kids in one classroom. What's going to happen? Kids are going to get tired. They're going to drop out. Or the schools are going to close, which they're going to do soon. I give it another 4 or 5 years. They'll close down every school in the black neighborhoods. And guess what it's going to do? It's going to, when kids can't go to school, when a child cannot go to school, he or she is going to resort to crime. Because 9 times out of 10, they can't go and get a job. They don't have an education. My father used to tell me back in the day, now this is in the early 80s, he used to tell me and my sisters and my brother, he said, pretty soon you're going to need pretty soon you're going to need a college degree to flip hamburgers. My father wasn't lying. He seen it coming. These people are going to try to stop you from graduating. They're going to try to stop you from getting an education. So this way, what they can do, see, the prison is a big multi-million-dollar industry. And being in that multi-million-dollar industry needs babies to eat, so you can feed the machine to keep doing what it's doing. This is what happening. A lot of people are dying in jail, or they're getting real old and they can't do it. So what they do, they need new blood to come in, and the new blood's not coming in fast enough. So if the new blood ain't coming fast enough, we have to produce that to go fast enough. See, they're not going to hurt their own school systems. White people ain't going to do that. These white school systems, they ain't going to do it. And it's so funny. A lot of white people don't see it. They just see it as, oh, they just don't want to learn. See, this is what you call closing a blind eye to things. Turning a blind eye to things. And they see that these schools are closing, and these schools are getting more and more smaller. The school systems are becoming smaller in the inner cities where blacks go to school at. And they're like, okay, well, these kids are going to not be able to go to school. They're not going to be able to get a job. So they're going to resort to crime. They're going to resort to selling drugs, robbing, stealing, killing. And it's going to put them behind the 8 ball. It's going to put them in jail. New blood to fuel the machine. This is why I always say, as black people, we need to start opening up businesses. We need to start building our community up. We need to start building houses and building banks, and making sure if we got black banks in our city, in our towns or whatever, or in our states, we need to start supporting these black banks. Because this way, when we have our own businesses, we can hire our own people. And in the process of hiring our own people, now we got houses that we can build. On top of building these houses, suppose if you want to buy a house, you can go to the bank, get yourself a loan that you have a bank account there at that bank, who actually owns or co-owns the title to your home that you're buying. And you can make payments like you paying rent to the bank. Blah. Easier said than done. Or very easy, should I say. But we don't think like that. All we think about is guns, cars, clothes, women, sex, and stupid stuff. We want to twerk. But twerking ain't going to help us save ourselves and save our community. Showing your pussy and your titties on social media ain't going to save you. Showing your dick on social media ain't going to save you. Trying to have sex with somebody ain't going to save you. What's going to save you is you getting your mind right and start doing what you need to do to make sure that your future is safe. You dig? Now, back to the Julie Chen thing. I'm sorry for going that way, but that's where I was trying to put you back at. Like I said, these people are trying their best to keep us out of the loop. I was just watching as they were trying to keep from saying his wife should leave him. This is the news outlets. The news outlets used, like I said, they carefully was choosing their words. And they kept saying like, oh, well, she doesn't know, and well, let's wait until all the facts come out. But when it was Bill Cosby, this is what they were saying. Oh, he did it. No doubt about it. If 25 women came out, if even 6 of them came out, then guess what? He was wrong. He did it. Case closed. Nigger did it. That's that D.W. Griffin attitude. That's that shit. But when it comes to a white man, they say, hey, who will believe him? Who's going to believe you against this white man? Nah, no one. So guess what? Go back about your business before we stomp you out, you little trick. And then she goes, me too, hashtag me too, time's up. Your time's up, Mr. White Man, for trying to grab on my breast and my flat back and trying to grab my pussy. Something's wrong with you. But, that's the hypocrisy right there. When it was Dr. King, when it was Dr. Cosby, Mr. Bill Cosby, y'all was saying how much he deserved to go to jail, how much he was the one who did this. Even if it was 6 women who 6 women or 30 women, he still is he's still guilty. But when it was him, I watched as what's those people called? It's not E! News, but it's Entertainment Tonight. Said Entertainment Tonight said they were choosing their words correctly. They were like, we're not sure if Les Moonves did this or not. We should just sit back and wait until we are sure with the outcome that comes. Give me a second, y'all. I'm going to come right back, all right? Hang tight.